Hello and welcome back to the Mistwalkers. So there's been a lot of news over the last month or so. Um, we've had the Calling Las Vegas, nearly 1,000 players for the main event. It was won by Prism, um, who beat a chain in the finals. Of course, we had um, the bannings that happened with Siege of Agony and with Duskblade for Chain. We've had the release of Tales of Aria. And then we've had two 500 plus player callings, one in Dallas Fort Worth and one in Cincinnati. So the calls that this game is dying or this game is fake or, this is just an investor's con scheme. You got players in the United States playing and traveling everywhere. I had two of our locals drive up to and play in the Cincinnati event. So that was pretty cool. They were crushing side events, but they didn't do well in the main event, and that's fine. Like us and my local game store, we all pretty well started playing them at the same time. So both of the Tales of Aria limited events were won by Dallas Fort Worth was won by Namvo, who is a player from the Atlanta GA area. The the same player group that ended up finishing second in with Chain at the Calling Las Vegas from the same player group. You can hear a lot about these players. They are a very good group of players. It's my understanding that they came over. They were playing the Dragon Ball Super trading card game by Bandai, and they moved over to Flesh and Blood. And you can tell that they have long-term card gaming skills. They're very good at what they're doing, no question. I'm actually going to see if I can switch these real quick. See if it'll let me do this. So I need to switch to display 1. I can actually look at the screen that I'm talking at. Let's see. Of course, they released their judge test. I'm happy to say that I passed the level 0. I haven't sat down to take the level 1 yet. Only because, well, time is a problem right now. Let me get the other player's name because I want to make sure I get it correct. Sebastiano Cavallo. Again, he is another one of those players from that group in the Atlanta area. They play for the same team, and you're going to be hearing their names a lot. Um, they announced skirmish season number 3, and I'm sad our store didn't get to hold one. Now, in fairness, we've only been buying product and running events since August, but we've had a lot of buy-in, so it's very cool. I'm just sad about not being able to get these cold foils and that flip and play mat. This this is my favorite artwork in the game. It is beastly. So yeah, I'm kind of sad about that. Of course, they announced Crucible of War is out of print, which is had the community up in arms for a little bit, and I understand. You know, it's they did a first edition print run last year, and it got wiped out pretty quick. And now they've run through, they printed it and did 3 waves of that one, and now they're done. So we were all waiting and trying to figure out, well, why did they cut that short, right? Well, this is why. Let me do a little zoom in here. So they announced at the Calling Cincinnati that there would be a supplementary booster set to be released in Q1 of 2022. And it would contain cards for all existing heroes. So basically what's happened is they stopped printing Crucible at War so they could print this set. And then, of course, standalone booster set in Q2. This is probably going to fall around the time frame that Monarch fell, April, May, etc. But this is an interesting one as well. Q2 2022. What is this? Could this be, this is a first edition print run, this is a second or an unlimited print run? Could this be some other small set? Could this be new starter decks for the original heroes? Could be, could be any number of things. Speculation is a standalone booster set is probably going to be Volcor or Mysteria. I'd be happy with either of those myself. Obviously, Mysteria is a little higher up on the food chain for me because, used to play L5R, right? The supplementary booster set basically are some of the cards that they're printing in here, they're going to be new. I assume that this set is going to be all new cards for those heroes, but I do expect that the legendary that's in this set to be something that needs a necessary reprint. And so you tell me. They've reprinted Tunic in the Crucible. But what is the most expensive non-Crucible Majestic? It's that guy. This desperately needs another reprint. And I wouldn't fight you if they wanted to reprint Tunic again either. Because, Tunic is still $100+. Generic. But I agree, this is a big card to be reprinted. There's also a couple others. Both of these two. This one especially. Sitting at $100 a copy and dang near impossible to pull out of a box of Arcane Rising. Now I will say I had some very good luck with pulling Art Wars. But I couldn't pull one of these to save my life. But yeah, if you're going to print these good, powerful Majestics and Legendaries that are going to be playable by everybody, you're going to need to reprint them. Speaking of sets that need generics reprinted, slide down. Of course, we went over the Tunic. This thing. Now, I picked up two. I'd like to pick up the third one, but I've already got two, and I had them just in my Blitz deck. But I'm afraid they're going to get moved into another deck, and I'm going to need the third copy. But this card is also a Majestic that is in desperate need of a reprint. The tome is sitting about $20. It probably wouldn't hurt. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff they could put in this, and plus, they kind of need. They kind of need to add some new cards for each of the different heroes. Now, starting this weekend, starts the first of the national champions. The first one is going to be the UK. Now, that was the other reason I wanted to hop on here and talk a little bit about this. Was the ProQuests had some interesting items. Yeah, 549 players for the main event. It's really good. So yeah, both the limited events were won by Oldham, and I'll tell you why this is happening. When everybody sits down at the draft table, and you have four more people drafting Briar, and only two players on Lexi and two players on Oldham, guess what's going to happen? The Lexi and Oldham decks are going to end up stronger than the Briar decks because too many people because of the draft pool. Um, and this is why Oldham has ended up winning these events rather than Briar or Lexi, because Lexi takes this, a unique blend to be able to get everything right. But Briar's pool's weighted down too much. Um, all right. So I'm going to pull the article that they put up talking about the ProQuest. So here is the ProQuest from Dallas. We had a Dash, two Sir Boltons, a Lexi, a Katsu, and two Bravos. Expected the Bravos, the Prism, and the Katsu. Dash was questionable because of what Lexi and Oldham end up doing to them via the ice tokens. Sir Bolton was sort of in the same boat. So to see Dash and two Sir Boltons makes me think that more players have been shifting Lexi to the Lightning build rather than the Ice dominated build. And so, you kind of see the two control matchups making it to the finals. Not really a surprise. All right. So, taking a look at the hero pool for Cincinnati, 139 players. So, that's about the size of a good sized PTQ from Magic's past, right? 17% Bravo, 11% Lexi. It shows a lot of confidence that Lexi that they got Ranger right. 11% Dash, 11% Prism, 10% Katsu, 9% Briar. Okay, the Briar is the interesting one. I really like Briar's design. And I'm going to get into a couple of the deck lists here in a minute. I think Briar, because of the nature of her ability and the fact that it doesn't have to be elemental based, means, and doesn't even have to be Ruin Blade based if you don't want to. You can actually play it much differently than you could, deck like Lexi, etc. And so 31% others. I see to run at the UC right arm. You see a few chains in here. Now, shocker, chain is still good. And apparently Alex may have found a build. And I'm going to bring that up because it's interesting. Bravo, two Briars, Prism, Lexi, Katsu. Okay. We expected Prism to be good. We expected Bravo to be good. Lexi has been a nice surprise. and I'll show you the build of that as well. Katsu, he was good to begin with. Two Briars. Brendan Patrick of of Arsenal Pass. So his build and Christopher Higashi, their builds of Briar are completely different, and yet both very effective. And I think that's what makes Briar so interesting. So this is pretty well on par. We expected Bravos, we expected Prisms. Both of them playing a control matchup. Prism, though, has the aura backup aggressive plan. Briar, Bolton. Sir Bolton is still the surprise because I think most of us thought that the ice builds of these certain heroes would slow down, Boltons and Katsus and dashes. But it's interesting to note that Chain is still good. We'll get into that in a minute. So Auckland had to do one. They had to do an event on lockdown. Um, two Bravo, two Dash, a Prism, a Lexi, a Briar, and a Reinhardt. Um, so it's very interesting. All right, so let's start with the chain deck. Most of this is pretty standard. Skull, Ironweaver, Ironweave, Skullcap, Carrion Husk, the Crown, Ebb and Fold, Grasp of the Arknight. They're still running Grasp here. Um, Being able to make a rune chant for 2 and go again is perfectly fine. Road. Here is the interesting piece. They have completely gone away from Nebula Blade. They're not using Galaxy Black. They're using Rosetta Thorn. This card is incredibly powerful, and is easier to set up. Snapdragon Scalers, pretty much standard issue. It's being run here over the suede hides because this is free. It just has an easier requirement. All right, so pitch card, Bounding Demagon. That was pretty standard before. 0 for 3 or 4 if you played it from the Banish Zone. Command and Conquer, Enlightened Strike, Flock of the Featherwalkers. This was being used before early on in some of the decks to keep you from having to do things like making Soul Shackles too early, etc., to give you extra go-agains. Ghostly Visit, Howl from Beyond, those have been pretty much standard. Lunar Tide Plunderer. So this has not been one of those that is standard issue. This is a 3 for 7 shadow action. It's a common from the set. So it hits hard. 3's a lot, but takes a little more work to set this up. But here's the other thing: with there being more prisms And now apparently Sir Bolton is still a favored son, if you will. This card becomes useful. Banish it and up to one card from their soul. More than likely that's probably a sideboard card, which is perfectly fine. So, Plunder Run. We've seen Plunder Run in a number of other decks already. You're seeing more of this crop up because we don't have the seeds. So we need something that is cheap, effective, and nets us some card draw. And this deck is running both the red and the blue Plunder Runs. Its heavy hitter is still Riftbind. The difference here is they have foregone the other two. They're just running the reds. Shadow Puppetry, very much still a staple. This is an interesting piece, and if I remember correctly, this was also in the gentleman who finished second at the Calling Vegas's deck. So this is essentially in chain. Once you get one soul shackle, or if you have another way to banish a card during a turn, this is a 1 for 6. Cheap, powerful, effective. And then Unhallowed Rites, of course this was pretty much a staple beforehand. It lets you recur a few of the non-attack actions that have blood debt, which right now is the Howl from Beyonds. There's a couple more down here. Art of War, still a staple in this deck. The yellow Bounding Demagon, they're only running one of it. Again, it helps recur. And Vexing Malice, yellow. Interesting that they're running the yellow. 2, 2, and for 1, it's the same as the Rosetta Thorn. Now let's look at our blues. Energy Potion, Invert Existence. So this is another card that they could be putting on the bottom of their deck for with the Bounding Demigons. It's also, more than likely it's a sideboard card, but this card is kind of interesting as an instant. Some decks this is going to hit, sometimes it's not. Mauvrian Skies makes more Ruin Chant tokens, or Ruin Chants. Has built-in Go Again. Plunder on blue, we went over that in red. Shadow Averser, this was pretty well staple to begin with. Now this one's a little harder to trigger now because you don't have near as many cards with Blood Debt. But it's still very good. It takes a little more setup now. Sting of Sorcery. Well, hello, beautiful. So this card is incredibly dumb in this deck because you want to make a Soul Shackle. Give your next give your attack actions Go Again, and then then play this, so you can get an attack action with go again, and then another attack action with. So this gets more arcane damage, which either gets more cards out of their hand or gets them closer to dead. Time Snap Potion. Since it's a little harder to do some crazy stuff in this deck, it's probably a good call. He's also running the blue Tremor of Arathiel, which in most cases, obviously this is a 1 for 2 normally, but it's a 1 for 4 if something's entered your banish zone. 1 for 4 damage is on rate, but pitching for 3 is actually very good for you. You also have the blue Vexing Malice and the Gregorian Tome. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of this card in Classic Constructed, but so let's look at the Lexi deck from Cincinnati. This is the surprise. Yes, that is Death Dealer. Not Shiver, not Voltaire, not Redliner. Death Dealer. When I read that card, I went, are you kidding me? Rest of the stuff pretty self-explanatory. Tunic, Heart of Ice, New Horizons, Perth Grabbler, Shock Charmers. Running the Shark Charmers instead of the Ranger equipment, because this is a lightning build. Wants to go wide. It wants to do dumb things. The Ball Lightnings, it's running a full set, 9, and I completely agree with that call. Bolt and Shots, it only has the reds, and I understand. Buzz Bolt, this is one of the extra damage. And if you go wide with these, by the way, these are completely nuts with Ball Lightnings. And it's completely nuts with Shock Charmers. But even this deck is not running full on. Everything has got to be electric. It's running Dazzling Crescendo, so that's a free potentially go again arrow. It's running Lightning Strikes. In this deck, again, cheap, hits decently hard, can have go again if you need it. Lightning Press. I was skeptical at first because of the no blocks, but all your arrows are 1. Almost every attack that you play is 0 or 1, so this card is very dumb. This deck's doing something that I didn't expect, and that was non-elemental arrows. The Helix is actually very good, as it lets you continue to hit and refill your arsenal. And my brain is in shutdown mode apparently. Remorseless. This card is dumb and requires almost play. Snapshot. Of course, this allows you to use Death Dealer multiple times in a turn. And with Death Dealer, I'll put this arrow face up in my arsenal and draw a card. Oh look, I can continue to go wide. I think that is the draw power of Death Dealer is what's actually helping it here. Because the other bows are also costing 1 to activate. And they get an attack buff or a trait. But the card draw is actually better for you in this instance. Yellow's Art of War, Yellow Ball Lightning, Yellow Buzz Bolt, Channel Thunderstep. I don't know if I completely agree with this, only because of the additional cost. But this does give it on any action card, attack action or non-attack action. So I don't know, maybe Electrify. I'm kind of surprised that they're running the yellow Electrify here. But this is another nice card you can put in Arsenal. Flip it face up. Give your next attack action go again. Play this. Draw your card. Put a put a stamp on your opponent. They're only running 1 Frazzle, which I thought was an interesting call. But apparently Buzzbolt does what they want it to do better. Light it up. That one's pretty self-explanatory. You want to hit them hard, and or shut down your their arrows or their equipment. And this does so much more damage with Ball Lightning. Just nuts. Yellow Lightning Press, Yellow Snapshot. So they are running 3 Amulet of Lightning, which this is good to get when you're having to use well, the additional some of the arrows that don't have go again. This deck is running 2 Blizzards, so not only is this good in the mirror, but it's also good against a lot of random other decks. Dash, Katsu, Serbolt, and Chain. More than likely that's probably a sideboard card. They're running the blue Electrify. Interesting. They are running the 3 blue Lightning Presses. That's a lot of pump. And the 3 blue Snapshots. I was very surprised to see that build. Alright, now let's go over the Briar decks. I want to do these intentionally. So we're going to look at Brennan Patrick's first. This is probably going to look interesting. Skullcap, Skeletta, Crown, Tunic, Grasp, No Ruins, not really surprised. Reaping Blade and Rosetta Thorn. Pretty much their 2 best weapons. Spellbound Creepers. Very interesting legendary in this set. One I still need to get. yeah, being able to play non-attack actions as an instant is pretty neat. Now, you're going to tell real quick, um, there's a lot of reds and not a lot of anything else. You're going to see a number of cards that I did not expect to see in this deck. So this is an Earth build of Briar. You've got Autumn's Touch, the generic 3 for 7 with 3 defense. You got Bramble Spark, and you've got that Bramble Sparks in in 2 different colors. Surprised he didn't have it in the blue. Yeah, Burgeoning. So Earth Attack, 2 for 7 if you played it from Arsenal, or 2 for 6, well above curve. Channel Mount Heroic. Now, this is one of the pieces that I think that the glue is held together on this. You basically get this into play on a turn. Got to have multiple Earth cards in hand. This and the one you pitch to pay for it. And then it doesn't say Earth Attack actions. It says attack action cards. Well, Autumn's Touch and Burgeoning already is hitting for a truckload. Then you add Command and Conquer, Enlighten Strike. You've got Ravenous Rabble, a 0 for 5 that gets a negative value based on pitch value, so it's going to be at least a 4 with Go Again. Scar for Scar, red, so 0 for 4 if you're at less life, it automatically has Go Again. Snatch, 0 for 4 if it hits draw a card. Well, it's now 0 for 7. Stir the Wildwood, kind of expect to see this if you're already in those. Earth Fused, it's a 2 for 7. 2 for 9 if you've dealt arcane damage this turn. Probably a good chance that's happened. And then Vigor Rush. This was an oddball one. One that I've seen in limited, but 1 for 4, and if you played a non-attack action and it gains Go Again. It's a dang 1 for 7 if you have Channel Mount Heroic out. So you've got 3 red Bramble Spark and 2 yellow Bramble Spark, so that helps with your arcane damage, if you will. Fate Foreseen, Sink Belows, that's pretty, some of your defense actions. Sonata Arcanics. A way to potentially draw cards and deal arcane damage at the same time. Ninth Blade, it comes out in the Prism matchup. That was pretty standard. Pulse of Candlehold. Little extra recursion. Alright, now we get down to the pitch threes. Autumn's Touch blue. That's a 3 for 5, not great. Earthlore Surge. When the blue hits for 3, has Go Again, and costs 2, that's still pretty good. Force of Nature. Alright, so this is Briar's Earth Specialization. When an attack action card you control hits a hero this turn, if its attack is greater than its base attack, draw a card. If it's fused, Your next attack this turn gains +1. Alright, so that's sort of the fuel for the fire, right? Force of Nature plus Channel Mount Heroic means I'm getting to replace cards and continue to attack you. And if I set it up right, I'm going to get at least one embodiment of lightning token, and maybe I've got one stored up from a previous turn. So tomorrow, Blue Pitch, Recursion, draws you a card if played from Arsenal. This was an interesting one that I didn't expect to see. Tome of Harvest. I just think this card's a little hard to set up. It is pretty good, but it's a little hard to set up, in my opinion. Tome of the Arknight, I kind of expected to see that. I hate when you whiff with this card, but it's amazing when you don't whiff. And then Weave Earth. The blue Weave Earth is free. It's either +1 or +2 if it's fused. And then Gregorian Tome. So that's one build. Let's look at Chris's build. So his deck is streamlined. Skullcap, Tunic, Grasp, Rose, and Snapdragon Scalers. This is a lightning build. And he's going aggro and balls to the wall, folks. Arcanic Crackle. So this is the free 3 attack, 1 arcane damage to a hero, 3 defense card from Monarch. Then you've got the Arcanic Shockwave, the new card from this set. That you 0 for 4, and if it's fused, you deal arcane damage to a hero. Ball Lightnings again. And he skewed and only ran 6 Ball Lightnings, which I think is a mistake, but obviously he got 4th in this event and I didn't, so. Command and Conquers, 3 red Electrify. Boy, this is going to hurt. 3 Enlightened Strike. 3 Entwine Lightning. 3 Lightning Press. 3 Lightning Surge. Another one that's free and it played out of the arsenal. Yeah, base go again. 3 Nimbleism. Boy, this is a nice cheap pump that gets you somewhere. He's running Plunderons, Ravenous Rebel, Scar for Scar, Snatch, Sonata Arcanics, and the Red Weave Lightning. Okay. This is actually pretty good if to kind of continue the fight in the yellows. You see most of this. This is the first time I've seen Plunder on yellows run. I usually see reds and blues. Ninth Blade, Weave Lightning. Down in the pitch 3s, very few pitch 3s. 3 Captain's Calls. I'm interested to see why he chose Captain's Call Blue over some of the others. Because this only works on attack action cards that cost 0. You can either give it Go Again or +2. The 3 Plunder Runs blue and the 3 times Snap Potions, fairly standard. And Gregorian Tome. And lastly, I'm going to bring up Bravo because reasons. I mean, Bravo is pretty well using the same equipment stash. Lead the charge is interesting in this. Remembrance, Freestanding, Righteous Cleansing Tome. All the blues. Really, this is the only card that he added, which was Terra Sunder. Not that I'm surprised. Um, but it does real work with Anothos. Alright, so that was a lot to talk about, guys, but with the national championships coming up, you're going to start seeing some of these decks pop up, and it's nice to see a mix of old heroes and new heroes with everything going on. I like the fact that you can still play Chain if you want to. Obviously, he was very problematic before, and now this version of the deck um, is definitely different and going to take a different approach to get there. Um, so I'm interested to see what the format looks like, um, and what tweaks and changes are going to happen. All right, so that's it from the layer. As always, even in race, there is no escape from the tiger.